This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout. I'm your host, Larry Lawson, coming to you from the mothership of paranormal programming, the X-Zone Broadcast Network. And as always, folks, this is my favorite time of week to sit back, kick my shoes off, and discuss with you, my viewers, my friends, our passion for the paranormal with people who are in the field, conducting the investigations, doing the research to find the answers to the unknown. And tonight I'm really pleased to present to you my guest, Mr. Brian Purdy of Elite Vegas Paranormal. Brian co-founded Elite Vegas Paranormal Society in 2008, along with his wife Linda and son David, after years of fascination with the unknown. Brian has appeared on Ghost Adventures Aftershocks and Naked Vegas, and is the author of the book In Search of the Afterlife. Each year since 2012, Brian and his team present the Las Vegas Paracon, which coincides with Goldfield Days in Goldfield, Nevada. The Las Vegas Paracon has raised thousands of dollars over the past few years to help renovate the Goldfield High School and the John S. Cook Bank building located in haunted Goldfield, Nevada. Brian and his team has helped public ghost hunts to raise money also for the Bonnie Springs Ranch's nonprofit zoo for the past 5 years. He is a lecturer on his book In Search of the Afterlife and has been featured on Fox News and has appeared in numerous magazines and news articles over the years regarding the paranormal. Brian has worked for 15 years in the medical field as the chief technologist for interventional radiology for a local medical facility. Brian Purdy, welcome to Paranormal Stakeout, my friend.
Hello, Larry. Thanks for having me.
That's great. You know, I'm way over here on the East Coast. You're out on the West Coast, and I'm really anxious to kind of bring the coast together, so I'm glad you could be with us tonight.
That would be nice.
How about telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the field of paranormal investigation and research?
Well, my son David, who's now 25, when he was, I guess, 5 or 6, we were living in New Mexico, where we're all from, and he used to sit in his back bedroom by himself having these adult conversations. So it was very odd. And I didn't think anything of it. He seemed like a smart kid. But my dad, who has since passed, used to make comments all the time saying, David's back in the back bedroom and he's having a conversation with somebody that is way above, his age. It's a more adult conversation. Mm-hmm. So he used to call him an old soul. And, again, we didn't think too much of it. But this went on for a few years, and as he got a little bit older, he started having night terrors. And when he had these night terrors, he'd wake us up on the dot, midnight, every night, frantically going through things in his room, searching for something. And, of course, he'd wake us out of a dead sleep, and we'd go into his room to see what was going on, and he was just frantic. And he would, when there's night terrors, they're still asleep. They're not awake.
Right.
So he's still in a sleep stage, and he's basically saying that whoever they are telling me I have to get this. He's searching for something in his toy box, under the bed, throughout the room. I have to get this. I have to get this. And, we started, we took him to the doctor, like most parents would. Doctor said, too much sugar, high fatty foods. And the problem with that was that my wife has never cooked high-fat foods, and he is, to this day, not a sweet eater. So he doesn't, binge on chocolate or anything like that. So it wasn't hyperactivity. I knew that. So down the road, we started the internet was getting a little bit more prevalent, and we started doing a little bit more research on it. And this article came up from a psychic, and I don't remember who it was, but she had mentioned that children are often they're attracted to the children not only because of their age and their lack of influence from surrounding environment. Mm-hmm. They were able to communicate with them easier. So we kind of got fascinated with that. My wife is doing a little bit more research on it, and we came across other phenomena, having spirits being the ones that are entertaining the child. So we kind of got a little concerned with that and decided that we were going to, step it up in the research part of it. After a while, it went away. He stopped having the night terrors. He still to this day sees dark shadows in his room. And mind you, he's 25 now. So mm-hmm. we've always known there's something there. Mm. So we eventually in 2008, after all we kept in with the research reading, we decided, well, we're going to create our own society. So in 2008, it initially began with Linda, myself, and David. And we were going to, some of the typical haunts and stuff that everybody was talking about. We'd buy our way in and mm-hmm. do investigating. And basically, it took hold, kind of controlled our life. And, basically we tell people we work for a living so that we can do this.
Yeah,
so that,
I hear that.
That pays for your passion.
The passion. Well, we're going to have to take our first break here, Brian. But I got a lot more questions to ask, and I know my listeners have a lot more to want to learn about your neck of the woods. So stay with us, folks. We'll be back in just a moment.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Welcome back, everyone, to Paranormal Stakeout with my guest tonight, Brian Purdy from Elite Vegas Paranormal Society in Las Vegas, Nevada. Brian, you were talking a few moments ago about how you got into the field of paranormal research. And it's a common story I've heard, the children kind of opening the doors. And it sounds like, that's what happened with you also. You then began to visit places and go on some of the paid hunts. Tell me how your group kind of developed and grew from there.
Well, it's, as you know, and I'm sure you've experienced, groups, people come and go in your groups. I think at one point we had 25 members. As we ran into people doing our investigations, they would say, well, I have somebody that would be interested in doing this. So we'd reach out to them or they'd reach out to us. And of course, everybody at that time was welcome. And we quickly found out that not everybody wanted to do research. Not everybody wanted to learn the equipment or do the hard part. They just wanted to go ghost hunting. So after a while, we cut our team down to approximately 9 people, which it's been for the last few years. It's a really good core group. Everybody has not a specialty, because I don't think this field has any, specialties. People that like to do certain things or do them very well. You learn your team's talents and utilize them accordingly. Mm-hmm. But now we have a really good team. We have a nurse, we have medical administrator, myself in the interventional radiology field, my son who's grown up on computers, so he's very techie. He likes all the gadgets, and anything new comes out, he checks it out before we take it out or test it when we're doing investigations. We have a couple others. One's a science teacher for middle school. So he's our realist. He's the guy that kind of keeps our feet on the ground, if you will. And then we have a couple others that are just really good at research, and some are just awesome when it comes to EVP research. When they're listening back, their ears are much better than my 56-year-old ears. So they're the people that we rely on for stuff like that.
Yeah. Do you do much in the way of training, in-service training or new investigator training? Do you guys do much of that?
We used to, and then when certain people that were in our group decided they wanted to leave because we weren't, investigating every night, that ended, because the people that were here, most of them were seasoned. They've been doing it, 15, 20 years with other teams, and we were just a magnet. They came to us. And partially because we're very active. We do a lot of community stuff. We're high profile. We're out there all the time. For whatever reason, and believe me, I honestly, not to toot my own horn or anything like that, but I think that if your website is a good representation of what you do, and it looks professional, your image is important, because that's how media is going to reach out to you and ask for you to do certain things. Halloween, they always come to us for news articles or, some sort of a television, Halloween thing that has to do with ghost hunting. And like I said, or you had mentioned earlier, we used to do the Bonnie Springs hunts. We did those for about 5 years. And it just got to be, we've done as much as we could do there. So we decided that we were going to end that situation and pursue some of the other options and interests that we had in the paranormal that we weren't able to do because we were kind of having to do this all the time. So it almost took the fun out of it a little bit.
Okay. Well, what exactly do you mean? What is it where is it you want to go? Well,
I think that everybody at some point, that gets a little bit bedazzled by the media and interest in other, you get all kinds of calls or emails from television producers wanting your story and all that stuff. And I think people kind of get a little bit wrapped up in that. And we kind of did too. And, we did a lot of that stuff. And it just became, it became more important than the hunting. So the team as a whole decided that we wanted to get back to the basics. We do the Las Vegas Paracon every August, which is coming up the end of this month. And we used to go out, we'd spend $30,000 on celebrities, putting this thing together and bringing out, all kinds of people. But when we did exit interviews with people, we found that they weren't there for the celebrities. They were there because of the location. They wanted to get in and hunt the location. So we've decided, the last few years, we've cut it way back. We don't bring out, we still have celebrities that show up, that are friends of ours, but we don't advertise those people. They're not guaranteed they're going to be there. If they can make it, they make it. But we got back to the basics. And that was the most important thing because we felt like we were kind of straying a little bit. Okay. And we just didn't want to do that.
When you say the basics, Brian, what do you mean by the basics? What's your definition of the basics in this field?
Well, now you're not for instance, Bonnie Springs was, you bring a group of people up there, a lot of people that are just, they watch the shows or whatever, and they want to try their hand at it. They want to be in a dark room and they want to be scared. So you end up going out and entertaining people. you know, showing them the gadgets and showing them how to do EVP or listening to Ghost Box and trying to decipher that, K2, so on and so forth. It became, you become a show pony. You're no longer doing what you want to do, which is actually investigate, do the research on a location, help families. We get a lot of calls from the area residents that need help. And we were kind of putting some of that stuff off so we could do this other stuff. And while we were helping, Bonnie Springs with their nonprofit zoo, it was kind of stealing our identity a bit. So
understood. Okay.
Getting back to the basics for us is helping families out, going in with the team, doing real paranormal investigations, not having to explain to somebody why they just spent 3 hours in a building and didn't have anything happen.
Yeah.
And we tell these people when they come up, look, there's no guarantee. These guys don't act on command. There are nights we have good activity, and there are other nights we have nothing. And that's real ghost hunting. So getting back to the basics is just doing what we started out doing, which was wanting to help people and do the research on these locations and find out more. We're very much into the history. Which is why we're tied in. Go ahead.
And I think most of us are. I think most of us that are truly in this field for the purpose of research have to be historians or pseudo historians, if you will. Folks that are just crazy about the history to go along with the paranormal investigation. So I agree with you there.
Right. Yeah, it's excuse me. It's something that's missed. I think a lot of these people create a group, and when I do my lecture, I do a part where I say, the difference between a ghost hunter and a paranormal investigator. And the ghost hunter is somebody that really their night is made when they're sitting in the dark, trying to capture EVPs. They're not there necessarily to help the family. They're not necessarily there to learn anything more about the location that they're at. They just want to interact. And a paranormal investigator is just that. It's a person, and you understand this with the police background, is you have to find out, what happened there, who did it happen to, when did it happen, and then you have to go further. You have to know the geology of the location. You have to know what kind of foundation it's on, and why that's important. So that's what a paranormal investigator does. He doesn't just go in a building and say, hey, are you there? Would you like to talk to me?
Well, you kind of took away a question I was going to ask of
Sorry.
you. No, good. You actually did a great job at it, because one of the questions I like to ask is, do you feel there's a difference between a ghost hunter and a paranormal researcher? And you answered that right on point. I agree with you. That tends to be a real problem today. Folks that want to be on teams, so many of them just want that thrill of hearing the EVP or the footstep or seeing the shadow.
Correct.
And they forget why they're there, which leads me to this question, Brian Purdy. What's your goal? What is your goal in this field?
Well, when I first started, the goal was to bring some evidence to the forefront that would be earth-shattering. I think we all do that at the beginning. And then as we plod along over the years, we realize that proof is almost non-existent. How do we prove something that's intangible? And that's where science part of it has to be more a bigger part of what we do, because just bringing a video or bringing an EVP to the public and saying, look what I captured, is not enough. I tell people my 25-year-old son is a video editor. And if I wanted, I could probably have him find a program and take any video that we've ever shot and superimpose whatever I want him to put in there. Mm-hmm. So knowing that, when I see video evidence, people put video evidence online and they get hammered. And it's because, and people send it to me too and say, well, what do you think? And I tell them, I don't know what day. I don't know what the temperatures were. I don't know what the wind gusts were. There's so many factors that just showing me a picture, I am a fool to tell you it is this or it isn't this. It's just not enough information. And if you understand that, you realize quickly that what is it going to take to prove?
Well, isn't that what we're all here for? Trying to find out what it's going to take. And
correct.
Do you have it? What's your opinion of what it's going to take? I have mine, but I'd love to hear yours.
Well, I mean, quantum physics is really what's groundbreaking now. That's really what is, I think, the cornerstone of any true evidence is going to come out of that field. And the reason I say that is because in the last few years, they've been able to measure dark matter. Mm-hmm. And dark matter is nothing. Yet it's quantifiable. We can measure it. So if that's true, which it is, if that's the fact laid out before us, then at some point, quantum physics is going to prove other anomalous things that have been long dismissed as impossible. I always tell people, we are at our point in the paranormal right now. We are Christopher Columbus trying to talk Spain into allowing us to sail ships to the New World. And there's the majority of people out there going, you're going to go right off the edge. You're going to sail out there so far and then bloop off the edge. Yep. So we are at Columbus's status, if you will, in the paranormal. We have so much more to do, so many more oceans to cross before we get to be able to prove this. And it's going to take a lot of serious minds.
It is.
And science.
We're getting ready to come back up on our next break. But before we do, I want you to think about something that we're going to talk about when you come back. I keep hearing we've got to do it, and that's where we've got to go, and we've got to figure out a way to do it. What are your thoughts on where we need to go to start proving it? And I also want to talk to you a little bit about what you do with the evidence you collect. So with that, we're going to take our next break. This is the Paranormal Stakeout with my guest tonight, Brian Purdy, and we'll be back right after this break, folks. Stay with us.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back, folks, to Paranormal Stakeout. My guest tonight, Brian Purdy from Elite Vegas Paranormal. Brian, great conversation. I'm already behind in the questions. I got so many I want to ask you tonight, but we're going to just make do. But we were talking about the future of our field and where you saw it. At least that's how I'm taking the direction of this conversation. And you'd mentioned just before the break that we have to go to the next step. What do you think that next step is? Where do you think we need to go? And just to give you a little bit more on my vision, is my dream is to be able to collect, preserve, and present enough evidence to present to a court of a jury in a court to prove our case. I'm looking at it from the law enforcement angle. So that's where I'm coming from, and it sounds like that's where you're coming from, but I want to know where you think we need to go to start meeting this goal.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, there just has to be more science-minded people getting involved. It can't be audio, it can't be video. That's not enough. It's been proven to be not enough. And, sad to say, it has to be more science-based. We have to get more people involved that are
Okay.
mathematicians.
Okay. Well, what do you think? What do you think about folks that have the gift of they're mediums, they're sensitives, they perhaps have experienced out of body experiences, things that I'll be honest with you, I'm as sensitive as a rock, and I know that. But there are folks out there that have the gift. Is there a way to channel that? Do you see that being a viable approach through scientific means?
Well, this is you mentioned people that have been, I don't know what the correct term is. We use jumped when a spirit takes over or inhabits the body. It's happened to me. The reason I made Ghost Adventures Aftershocks was because of an episode that they saw that we had actually taped. And I went through this 41 minutes of being in one place with my team and lots of witnesses. And I had a sharp pain in my back. This happened at Bonnie Springs. And, being an old guy, I said, well, this is just my back hurting me. And my son, who was taping the whole thing, he was videotaping. Right away, he says, Dad, get out of the room. And I'm like, I'm fine. He goes, just get out. And one of my other teammates said the same thing. So right away, I know he's thinking that it's spiritual, paranormal. I think it's just an old guy having back pain, although it was pretty severe.
Uh-huh.
So I walk out of the building and they escort me out onto a front porch of this opera house. And we've been up there for 5 years. And, every month we go up there, we do a monthly hunt. And all of a sudden I'm standing outside and I'm looking at the mountains. I'm looking at the tree line and the buildings, and the sun was just setting. So it was still light enough to see the colors of everything. And I was just going, oh my God, how beautiful. Wow, that building is really pretty. That's so beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, why am I admiring something I've seen a million times? It didn't make any sense to me. And I was having this dialogue in my head that what was wrong with me? Why was I feeling this way? And the next thing I know, it's pitch black. It's 41 minutes later. I'm down another 100 feet from where I started. And I'm kind of coming to, and I'm looking around. Everybody's kind of in my face, flashlights. I reach up to my neck. I'm soaking wet. I have like 5 gold crosses around my neck. And I'm like, what's going on? And they're saying, you got jumped. And I go, what are you talking about? And they said, you got jumped. And I said, I didn't get jumped. And they said, we found you in the saloon in the old town by yourself in the dark, and you were gone for 20 minutes. And I'm like, I was not in the saloon. My son puts the camera down on the picnic table, flips over the monitor, starts playing it, and he goes, there's you, where we found you not 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, pretty convincing.
Right. And I said, well, why am I all wet? And they said, well, we thought you were stroking. Remember, I have a nurse on my team.
Mm-hmm.
But we thought you were having a stroke because you were catatonic. You were not answering questions. You were not blinking your eyes. You weren't looking yourself. So they were putting cold, wet towels around my neck, thinking that, they'll try to comfort me in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose of my story is that after all of this, my wife was there, my son was there, my best friend was there, his wife was there, a team from Australia was there with us, and then the rest of my team. And I told my wife later, I said, you know what? This happened to me, but I can't even prove it to you. And she goes, well, I believe you. And I said, you believe me, but you don't know that it happened. So with psychics and mediums, it's the hardest thing to quantify. I had an experience and I can't quantify it to anybody. I can't tell. The only one that truly knows what I went through is me.
Yep, you're right.
And that's the odd thing.
Well, I'm going to be a little bit idealistic here, and I agree with everything you're saying, Brian. But we've got to. Too many people are saying can't be done in several different areas of our field.
And nothing can't be done.
Exactly.
It's just it hasn't been done and it hasn't been thought of yet, but it will. And we will figure it out.
That's what I want to hear, because like minds got to come together, think of a way to either prove or disprove. I've got no problem if we are able to disprove it completely.
Right.
But just to come to that answer. So I totally agree with you. With your evidence, what do you do with that? You collect a selection of EVPs. Maybe you've got some stuff on a video camera. What do you do with that evidence?
I've got miles and miles. We don't do much with it anymore. We play it for our clients. And we'll put it on DVD with any video, and we give them their findings. But we don't. We used to post them. I have stuff on my website that's pretty old, both video and audio. And the reason I stopped putting it out there was because who's gonna believe it? Who's gonna? I mean, people go on there all the time and say, "Oh, this is really cool," but I don't know that it's informative. It's not. I don't know that they're learning anything from it. I think it's just, hey, that's cool.
What are your thoughts about having a?
I already know what you're going to say.
A repository.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
And that's something we're working on right now. And there's some other folks that have done some really fine work on it too. But we're hoping to develop something like that on my end, because I think and we talked a little bit about the East and the West as far as paranormal teams. You and out in Nevada and me down here in Florida, we might have an event that are similar, but we'll never know it if we can't share it. And
Correct.
we do the same thing in law enforcement, sharing that kind of information.
Right.
So you like that idea then?
I do. You have to keep it anonymous. While you were telling me the idea, I right away thought, okay, so how do you keep people from? And you'll never keep people from creating it, falsifying, if you will. So
there's always those.
Yeah, so you have to find a way to keep it anonymous. And the reason I say anonymous is because if you keep it anonymous, then no one's doing it to seek credit.
I like that. That makes good sense. I like that.
You just keep it anonymous, maybe locale and stuff like that, but not who captured it. And that way, because the biggest problem with our field right now is the golden ring. It is television and television and television. People want to be on TV. And it is so bad that we're stepping all over each other to get there.
Oh, I know. And
until that fades away, until it starts to go by the wayside like so many other things have, that'll get rid of the looky-loos, the people that are just in it for the wrong reason. And hopefully those of us that actually do this on a regular basis, it's not just people always say, oh, that's your hobby. I hate that word. It is not my hobby. It is my passion. I want to know as much as I can. And in the beginning, it was to prove to others that it exists. And now I realize the only one I can prove to is me.
Okay.
So it's for me. I want to know. I want to know answers. I want to know details. I want to know anything I possibly can. And that's my passion. That's what we do this for every day.
I couldn't agree with you more. But let's change gears a little bit here. Tell me your scariest investigation.
I don't know that we had a scariest.
Most active, most exciting, however you want to.
Well, when we first started going up to Bonnie Springs, we had a few nights that were really active, and I'll say that we've been to a lot of different of the big locations: Linda Vista, Goldfield Hotel, Washoe Club, and many others. And believe it or not, those were kind of a disappointment. You walk out and you go, oh, I was hoping for a brick to be thrown or a chair or something, and it was very, very minimal, an EVP or two, but nothing really substantial. But one night we were at Bonnie Springs with a group of guest investigators, and they have their wax museum. And there's a little open space there with a couple of wooden benches that are about 15 feet long, very heavy. And we were all just kind of just chatting amongst ourselves, explaining some things and what we were going to be doing. And it was very quiet. And all of a sudden, my wife, who was sitting at the one end of the bench, one of the benches, my light started flickering on and off, which I was just kind of, it's a brand new flashlight. Why is it doing that? Doesn't have a setting on there to strobe or anything like that. It just started going on and off. And then everybody else on the team started doing the same thing. So we're like, going, what the heck is that? So we're thinking, okay, it's got to be a bad flashlight. Something's interfering somehow. And then my son, who was standing by one back area, starts to try to hush us up, saying that he's hearing voices where there was nobody at. And then one of our other teammates was over by the door, and I was closest to him, and all of a sudden it sounded like somebody was bum rushing us. It was these footsteps on this old wooden floor, just boom, 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 boom. And then the bench that my wife was sitting on scooted. It pivoted. She was the weight on one end, and it scooted out from underneath her. And it sounded like a growl because it was these big wooden planks that it sits on. The old wood floors are very rough. So It basically went da-da-da-da-da. But at the time, when all this stuff was happening all at the same time, it sounded like a growl.
Interesting.
So I'm like alert because I'm hearing a growl. My son's hearing voices. My other teammates hearing footsteps that I'm also hearing. And our flashlights are strobing. And in all this time, we're kind of not freaking out, but we're excited. Mm-hmm. And my wife always laughs. She says, our poor guests. They're probably going, these guys are the experienced ones. And they're getting all excited about this. And I told them afterwards, I said, it does not happen very often.
And that's an important key because ghost hunting's like fishing. Sometimes they're biting, sometimes they're not. Right. Hey, listen, we got to go to our last break here, Brian. So folks, stay with us for our last segment here in Paranormal Stakeout. Don't go away. The best is yet to come.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Welcome back, folks, to our last segment for tonight. Man, this has gone quick, Brian. Yep. So many more questions, but I do want to invite all of my friends and listeners out there to visit Elite Vegas Paranormal Society's website at www.elitevegasparanormalsociety.com, all one word. I'd also like to encourage you to look up In Search of the Afterlife. That's Brian's book that he penned on the work that he's done. I'd also want to encourage all of you to go to www.xzbn.net and take a look at the terrific programming on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. And we truly are the next generation in paranormal programming. So get online, check out some of our terrific programs there. And don't forget to go to my website, paranormalstakeout.com, and you can check out our website for my team at www.paranormalfbi.com. And also, if you get a chance, get on my Facebook for Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation. Let us know what you thought about the show. Give us your thoughts on my guests. We'd love to hear from you. So I'll look forward to that. Brian, as we kind of begin to wrap up here, I want to talk to you about Goldfield. I mean, Goldfield, that's a place that really got a lot of people excited by a certain group that went out there. How close are you to Goldfield?
3 hours. About 3 hours. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hype or reality?
Reality.
Okay.
I think that the group that you mentioned before that kind of put it on the map, they good timing. I think that they just went in at the right time.
Uh-huh.
It's an amazing town. We're very close to the town. We spend a lot of time in that town. My best friend owns the John S. Cook Bank Building, which is a 3-story, 4 if you count the unfinished basement, 1907 bank building. And it's one of 3 of the largest buildings left in that town from the era. So it is an amazingly active, high energy place. If people would go out there more, I think the distance in Vegas, it's kind of hard. People don't want to go up there because it's 3 hours through desert to get there. But I'll tell you what, it's worth. The people of the town are amazing. They're the kindest, nicest people, and give you the shirt off their back. And it's just the energy in that town is just unbelievable. I mean, in 1907 to 1911, I believe it was 20,000 people living there, and it rivaled San Francisco as far as prominence. Many people from San Francisco at the time would actually travel to Goldfield. It was like back and forth. It was a huge metropolis back in the day, and now it's under 300 people.
Oh my! Yeah. Well, I know a lot, and I know a lot of people may not remember the episode, but this particular group that was out there. Well, you're attached with the Ghost Adventures crew with Ghost Adventures Aftershock. It was them when they saw the brick fly, the famous brick flying. That got a lot of people excited. Now, you and I.
It's funny because people talk about that all the time. They come up to me and say, "Well, I know the scientist or whatever, one of the guy from UNLV that helped them rig that up." And I'm like going, I know these guys. These guys, the one thing that they do right is they will not put out junk. They don't want to put out anything that's not accurate. If nothing happens, then they have nothing to show. But they're not creating stuff, and it's I guess you have to know them to understand that. I know a lot of shows that may have created stuff.
Well, I think there's a lot of good shows out there, and I personally don't. I think what the TV shows have done is actually in a lot of ways helped our field. It's brought it more mainstream.
I absolutely agree with you, and that's one of the things that. And I don't do a lot of getting on Facebook, and I do a lot of Facebooking, but I don't get involved in a lot of the drama that has to do with people, trying to shame these people for that very reason. Well, there's a reason our phones are still ringing, and people need to understand that.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. On the other hand, I do understand from personal experience, it's also entertainment.
Sure.
And I know a lot of and I've known some of these folks myself. While they've never produced evidence on their own, if you will.
Right.
They make no bones about it. TV does enhance it some. Yes,
Takes
they do.
Liberties. Yeah, and that's what they're there for.
And I think that's what people need to understand, that there may be a bit of reality there, but it's also entertainment, and that's what they need to. But the brick incident was real. That's from what you know, that's correct, right?
But I mean, I have never heard any of them say that. Well, and maybe they're never going to, even if it was. But once you get to know somebody, you just kind of understand. You understand what they're about and whether or not they're prone to stretching the truth. or not. And these guys, they're all, what you see is what you get. They're all the same way in real life, and it's amazing how down to earth they are. It's not. I have a hard time, and people, well, you're in denial. Well, maybe I am. I know people. I've met a lot of people in this field over the years, and some people, you just, when they start talking, you just kind of, your mind shuts off. Boop, gone, and you're just like, yeah, everything that comes out of his mouth is going to be difficult to listen to. These guys aren't like that, and that's my personal feeling, but. And it's neither here nor there. It's just important to know that, as you said, our phone continues to ring because these shows are still out there, making people comfortable with making that phone call. And that's the key. People for the longest time, and I still have them when we talk to them and go, okay, I know you're going to think I'm crazy. Well, first off, I will never think you're crazy. I'm going to listen to you because I am the last person that needs to say somebody is crazy. I've seen, I've heard, I've witnessed stuff that I can't explain, and I am not crazy.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. This is another change of subjects here slightly, but you're out west, I'm out east. Seems like the two never seems to meet as far as investigations.
No.
Why do you think that is? Just travel costs, that type of thing?
Yeah, I think that's the majority of it. When we had our Las Vegas Paracon at Binion's, we had something like 28 celebrities coming out. We had Josh Gates. We had a number of others. Billy Tolley was coming in. Aaron Goodwin was coming in. We had a lot of big names coming out, and we thought for sure that would draw. And we ended up canceling because ticket sales just weren't where it needed to be. And I'll be honest with you, I believe that people in the East can't afford to come to the West to see an event, and especially if they have good events on the East Coast. I mean, there are ones like Scarefest and Mid-South that I want to go to, but it's like I have to find time off to travel. Is my team going? Am I taking equipment? I mean, there's so many factors.
I've got a good one you need to come to in Fellsmere, Florida in November, my friend. Our Para-Unity Conference, and we'll talk about that later. Okay. But your point's really, really well taken. It just seems like there's that divide. And do you think there's any difference in the type of evidence? Do you think there's any difference in the type of hauntings? Any thought to that at all?
Well, I've always contended that, the East Coast, the further you travel east, go over to England, Scotland, Ireland, all those places, it's been there longer. It was inhabited longer. So there have more layers of spiritual evidence that can be captured because there was just so much history. You go further east or west, going towards California, it's a lot newer.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because I talk to folks. We do tours, of course, down here. While Florida does boast the oldest city in the country in St. Augustine, most of Florida is new. To us, 100 years is old.
Right.
To you folks out there, you talk to some folks up in the Northeast, they live in houses that were built in the 1700s.
Yeah.
That's old.
Yeah.
So we're very, very new down in Florida ourselves.
Well, where were the big battles fought? The most bloodshed. You're talking Gettysburg, in that general area, Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, all those areas were very, very tumultuous for many, many years. So in the West Coast, we had mining. That was the big thing. People getting knocked on the head for their claim. That's the kind of spirits that we get. In California, there's a little bit more older settlements out there because people were coming from that direction too, through the Pacific. So there's more history there, but it's not as steep as it is on the East Coast.
Do you have any, especially being in Nevada, there was that one show that dealt with ghosts in mines.
The ghost mine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that mines do have a higher significant amount of hauntings?
Oh yeah. People's lives, they gave up everything to dig a hole in the ground, and if they found anything and opened their mouth, somebody else would come and jump their claim.
Mm-hmm.
So they ended up, buried in a hole next to their mine. So there's a lot of tragic stories, money won and lost, fortunes made and lost.
Yeah.
So that to me, if you believe in the stone tape theory, that's the energy that is bound there forever.
Absolutely.
It's just different.
It is different, and I really want to talk to you a bit more about bringing East and West together, because I think those of us here in the East are missing what the treasures you have there, and vice versa. So I think that's something I'd like to talk to you more about if you're interested.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and unfortunately, my friend, our hour is gone, believe it or not. I've still got a dozen questions I'd like to have asked, but I really appreciate another time. I hope so. I really appreciate you being with us tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. And folks, thank you for joining us here on Paranormal Stakeout. I'll look forward to seeing all of you next week with another guest and another ride into the paranormal. See you on the other side.